Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this joint webinar between PayFit and Personio. I'm Scott Sampson from Personio. I'm gonna introduce the panelists and the topic in a second. What I might do right now is just allow for the participants a couple of minutes to join. You can see the participants number jumping up a little bit, but I'll just give us a minute until everyone can join, and then we will kick off. Okay, great. We might get started. We're already a minute past the hour. Yeah, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. I'm really excited to be here. I am Scott Sampson from Personio, Country Manager for the UK and Ireland. Really excited to be your host and to be moderating this discussion today. So the what I've done already is I've activated the chat, so you should all be able to participate in that already. And my opening ask would be if you could drop in your name, where you're joining us from, and one slightly tricky question: what's one word that comes to mind when you think about internal development of your teams, particularly in the context of the HR ecosystem? Today's topic is all about providing you with practical, no-nonsense advice on how to find the right tools that are going to best serve your organization, and how to make sure that they're fully connected with each other to build an ecosystem that your teams can rely on. Before we get started in full, one ask from my side is please feel free to be super active in the chat. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to give us your questions, but also to have a discussion with each other and hopefully build a little bit more on top of your existing network to help learn from one another. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our wonderful speakers after a bit of a technical difficulty. Just quickly before I do that, as I said, I'm Scott, Country Manager, UK and Ireland at Personio, and I'm deeply passionate about all things HR and helping people develop their businesses and their people. And I'm really excited to be joined today by Sigolène Juppe, who is Senior HR Project Manager at PayFit, and my colleague Sean Reid, who is our lead for customer growth at Personio. So if I could just ask you, Sean, to introduce yourself and a little bit more about Personio.
Yep, sure. So good to be here. My name is Sean. So I've been here in Personio now for 3 years. And as Scott said, I'm a lead on our customer growth team. To be exact, I look after the UKI and the Benelux side of things for ourselves. So Personio, all-in-one HR solution. And my team's role here is really to make sure that those who have taken the plunge and have invested into Personio are getting true value out of it. So we want to be your trusted advisors, the ones who are giving you the best resources, expertise that we can to make sure that your HR team is excelling with the tool itself. But also from my side, making sure that I'm a voice for yourselves here internally as well. So that the needs of the UK and the Benelux are heard and that we're learning and partnering with our customer base as well. And I suppose, fun fact is I celebrate my 3 years here in the company yesterday. So I'm an old fogey at this stage in Personio terms.
That's great. Thanks, Sean. And Sigolène, over to you.
Thank you. My name is Sigolène. I have a background in consulting and in particular on tools deployment. And I've been working at PayFit for 2 years. And fun fact, Sean, it's my 2 years today joining PayFit. I'm in the people strategy and solutions team, and my team's mission is to build and run our HR processes across the company. and to deploy and run HR tools to support those processes. And on my side, I've worked on various topics, including the deployment of our core HR and the design of our employee lifecycle processes. And maybe I can present also PayFit, which is a payroll management tool for very small and smaller businesses.
So the big thing we're taking from today is May is the month to hire great people. Perfect.
Clearly.
All right. Thank you both. So very quickly before we dive into to hearing more on the topic from both of you, just a quick reminder for everyone that's here. In about 15 minutes, we are going to open up a direct Q&A, but I encourage everyone to submit any questions that they've got in the chat, and we'll make sure that we cover off on those after we hear more from Sigolène and Sean. So if I could maybe start with you, Sean. Let's start by talking a bit about how a term that many might already be familiar with, digital transformation. It's something that we hear a lot about. How do you, Sean, and Personio think particularly around digital transformation, and where is somewhere that the HR function might start best?
Yeah, it sometimes it feels like it can be a bit of a buzzword, but it's because you see it in a lot of places. But I think the true part of a digital transformation is when you as a company are at the stage that you need and want to make data-driven decisions. So if you've gotten to the stage now where you're working on projects or you're working on the next big OKR or task or challenge that's ahead of yourself, and you have that moment going, I wish we had those insights, or I wish we were able to go, this is what the data shows us that we're making the right decision and we're moving in the right direction. That's the moment where you as a company need to be step back and going, we need to invest in our tech stack then. We can't go by hunches anymore. We can't go by what like just a pure gut instinct. We need data in front of us to say, this is the path we're going on. This is the direction we need to go with. So making that move to a full tech stack makes total sense at that stage. But I think the other kind of sign that like now is the time to go for this is when the projects that you're working on stop being that stage of everyone pulling together and we all work together. If we have an OKR or we have an objective that's ahead of us and we say there's now a task force of say 3 or 4 different groups, they're all working in their silos towards that one objective. How do you know everyone's moving to the same rhythm? And how do you know that everyone is sharing the same kind of insights together and are staying on the same track or working towards the same goal? That becomes really apparent that you have an issue there without a digital transformation in place, because people are working in their own silos, meet back up, and then suddenly realize, oh, we're all going in wildly different directions and we're now more inefficient than we were before. If only there was a way that we could keep in check, or we could be able to work on our smaller tasks, but align towards the bigger picture. And that's where investing in your tech stack, bringing in a digital transformation comes in, so that you do become more efficient as those smaller tasks start to get bigger and bigger. But those are definitely, from being here inside of Personio, the two things that really stand out to me as success stories that kick in is when customers realize they're at that moment of efficiency with data, making data-driven decisions, and starting to work towards multiple teams on a similar goal.
Yeah, really, really interesting. And I think particularly that that area of bringing multiple people together and coordinating, sometimes conflicting, but often multiple projects at the same time is definitely one that can present its challenges. So, Sigolène, in your experience, and you obviously work directly in running and executing projects, what would you add to what Sean had to say?
I completely agree with you, Sean, and I think also there are signs in your day-to-day that you have limitations linked to the fact that you are not digital enough, especially I think in HR, and that's why it's a great place to start digital transformation, because it's a function with a lot of administrative tasks, a lot of data management, and so a lot of HR missions, mainly admins one, can really benefit from automation and tool support, I think. And so it's a place where you really see the benefits of having the proper tool, the proper processes, and with that transformation, your teams will be able, to focus on tasks with more added value and everything. You will see pain points that you have in your day-to-day linked to data management and to tooling that will disappear. So it's even the benefits that you can see with your own eyes. I wouldn't say on a day-to-day basis, but really in very recurring missions and tasks that you have. And also one recommendation that I would have related to digital transformation, it's that it's very linked to leadership. So even if you as an HR professional, you are very much ready to have the proper tool in your team, but your leadership are not really in that mindset yet, it will take some time and you need to advocate that and to fight for it. And one very good way is to build a great business case and spend some time identifying why having a proper tool management system would improve your efficiency, improve also support the company's ambition and growth and things like that, and really go get your leaders.
Actually, I was in a call recently with a customer who was talking about that exact piece of the pitching to C-level about the investments in HR. And they used a great line when they were talking about it, where they said, if this was marketing, if this was sales, if this was customer success, they're within their team, they're in their part. Yes, there's some crossover, but this is their primary focus. For us within HR, we have every employee to think about. So it's not just our team we go at, it's the company. So if we're not investing in something for ourselves, we're doing the entire company a disservice by doing this because everyone's going to use it. I heard that really just hit home for me of the importance of a HR department in these data-driven decision pieces of going, yeah, they are the ones we should be starting with.
Yeah, absolutely. And from my perspective with the customers that we speak to, I couldn't agree more with everything that both of you said. And I think gone are the days where it was acceptable or it was enough just to put a tool in place to kind of tick a box. It's become absolutely important with modern ways of working and increasing employee demands that we make sure that we're running the business smoothly, but actually giving a really deep and personalized experience, rather than really just doing things for the sake of it, which I think has happened in the past, particularly when software as a service was in its infancy. So I think building off that idea, Sigolena, if I can turn back to you mentioned tools a couple of times there in your answer. So, in your experience, what tools or what kind of technology do you think are most important to ensure that kind of smooth business running for not just, as Sean says, the your own team or HR itself, but for everyone? And moreover, how do you then think about building the case to invest in either HR or people related technologies with those senior stakeholders that Sean's just referred to?
So before I answer, I just want to say that it also depends on the size of your company, maybe how many countries you're in, and also your digital maturity. But my recommendation for a company who is starting to look into which tools they could deploy, I would recommend what I call core HR, but maybe employee database, which would be really the first building block of your HR tooling system. So it enables you to store your employees' personal and professional data, maintain your organizational repositories, so managerial structures, departments, teams, and so on. And it's really the first step towards saying, okay, we want to professionalize the way we manage our HR data. It will also allow you to be GDPR compliant. It will be your single source of truth that will then allow you to integrate other tools and automate the link between those tools to control the way you input data and so on. So really, it will professionalize the way your people department manages their data. And I think it's the first thing that you need to do. It's have clean data. before starting to have a lot of tools and everything, you need first to have your clean data, and the curator will help you do that. And then you can start to do some other tooling, talent management, compensation, and so on. But my recommendation would be take the time to do things properly. And then once you have your curator, then deploying other modules or other tools will depend on your needs. If it's a more talent that is urgent for you, that corresponds to your business needs and to your company's ambition, you also need to always keep in line, as you were saying, Scott, it's not just deploying a tool to deploy a tool. Take some time to really audit your practices, understand your needs, and build a business case. And that links to the second part of your question, Scott, which is you can't go to a C-level and just say, hey, we need a lot of money just because we want to do that. You need to arrive with metrics. I think it's something that really speaks to C-level, saying we are losing that many human resources, that much time, that much money as well, because time is money, of course, and saying tomorrow with that tool and maybe with a long-term vision of several tools that you would want to deploy, we will save that money. We will be able to support all those new projects and launch all those things and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're not saying any of this is simple or easy to navigate. Again, a lot of competing priorities. So I'm really interested to hear from you, Sean. You work with a lot of customers who are already actively invested in technology to support their business, but perhaps thinking about growing their investment in that. How do you think about helping and supporting them engage with that business case and kind of moving away, I guess, from the isn't that HR's job into the here's how we invest in the efficiency and the growth of the company?
Yeah. I think the biggest learning I've definitely had here, like since joining Personio, and to kind of give a little context to my answer, prior to Personio, I would have worked with a marketing software for 6 years. So I would have been of the case of going with your tech stack. It's about the important part is understanding the data needs and the core needs of your team, and that's where it kind of stops. But with a HR solution, what I've definitely learned from speaking with customers is it's not just a case of as you're expanding and as you're growing, the focus just on this is the tool and it's solving these core pieces. The question you need to ask with the investments is how much is the tool actually investing in HR? How much is it investing into HR professionals and it understands the needs and the wants of those folks that are in the territories it's with? I have the luxury of speaking with UK customers, Irish customers, Dutch customers, and they all have wildly different needs. And if I have a tool that just goes, here we go, this fits a HR piece, that gets me to a certain level. What really takes me to above and beyond and goes beyond HR, to use that quote that you'd hear from Personio all the time, is understanding how does this impact the company on a compliance level? How does this impact the company on the actual needs that are hitting the markets we work with? How is it not just looking at the UK and the Benelux as being the same? It's going, there are core differences here that we need to work on. And we as a company are investing in your region, in your role, in your piece. And if you find a solution that shows that investment into that space that you're working within, that's the key to bring it to the next level. And those are the questions that I would certainly be asking now, speaking with customers for 3 years, that if I suddenly found myself leading a HR project, I would go, how much do they know about where I work? Or how much do they show in the investment in where I work? Because then I have a tool for life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as you think about those tools and having a tool for life, there's going to be lots of different use cases and lots of different areas that you want to empower the organization. So, Sean, just handing back to you again, and sorry for making you go twice in a row, but how do you, how do you recommend people should think about how they integrate their HR tech stack? How do you make sure everything runs really smoothly? And I guess, maybe a slight follow up is having less tools more for the organization, and does it help the organization be kind of more intentionally connected?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go the opposite route to what I just said there about like how there's such a difference between a marketing software and a HR software. I think the big thing is with software, no matter what, I have never had in my 11 years of working in SaaS, had a customer or a client turn around and say, I'm so happy we invested in 7 or 8 tools. And that's where we're at. It's always a case of, I wish I consolidated as much as possible and invested in a tool that was all in one, but wasn't just flashy and go, we do everything. It says, we do these things really well. And for the things that we don't have abilities with right now, we integrate really well with other fantastic tools that are at our level so that you have a single source of truth. You have somewhere that you as a professional can log into and go, what I need to showcase ROI, what I need to showcase metrics, what I need to showcase that I'm doing my job and my department is delivering is an essential source for you that you can pull it very, very quickly. And if you're in that Frankenstein style model of multiple tools, that becomes really, really hard. So the core thing would be looking to go is, what do I do to consolidate as much as possible so that it is in as few tools as possible, but is in a suite that for what it doesn't do is a best in class partner with them as well. That's key for me. But then that also brings into the other part is the trend for today is data, right? You could turn around to me and say, well, buy a tool that has flashy bells and whistles that go with it, or has extra pieces that are not part of core HR and are not delivering towards the data that I need to show that investment that it was worthwhile putting off or show that we're going in the right direction. If you're distracted by those, it's not going to work out. I would really focus in on what's the core things right now? What are the core focuses I have? And is this a solution that can give me the data that proves we're going in the right direction? Because there is no worse feeling in the world, again, 11 years doing this, of having your financial year come back and review and go, why did we buy that? We can't pull data that goes with it. We can't show the efficiencies that come in with us. Making that decision pays off big time for ourselves.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just before I turn over to you, Sigurlin, I have just launched a poll for those of you that have joined us on whether you'd like to hear more either from our two speakers or about either of us. So encourage everyone to answer. And just a quick nudge, if you have any particular questions or anything we've spoken about has piqued your interest, please do comment in the chat. I've had one DM so far on a Q&A from the audience, which I'll come back to. But Sigurlin, just I guess just building on that a little bit, how, in your view, how do you think about that in your role, particular with a project focus and making sure that the tech stack is really nicely integrated and I guess complementing each other?
I completely agree with what you said, Sean. For me, having integrated HR tools, it's a no-brainer. I'm not going to list all the reasons why, but really just to simplify, gain of time, of efficiency, gain of data quality, of course. Having tools that are not integrated will be a source of complexity in your job and is a source of complexity today, even for your employees' experience. Having several HR-related tools is always more complicated than having a single point of entry where you can find everything related to HR. So for some key tools, it's no-brainer. For example, integrating your core HR or employee database and your payroll tool, because payroll is so sensitive and really needs such a good data quality, it really makes sense. I just want to start another reflection. Just sometimes maybe integrating two tools is worth thinking about, because it's still an investment. Even with a native integration, usually it will require some work and some financial investment from you. And so sometimes it can be worth not integrated. So if I take an example, if you have a compensation tool to run your compensation campaigns, and you run your compensation campaigns maybe once a year, building an integration that you would use once a year will maybe not be the best investments. Of course, you can find some use cases that would contradict that, but just to think about it, and maybe there the manual input of data would remain the most relevant, but I think it's very specific use cases. And overall, if it's tools that you use very often, integrating them will be really a lever for improved efficiency, improve reporting, and therefore data-driven decisions. So really, yes, go for it.
Excellent. Okay, conscious that time flies when you're having fun, and we're getting quite close to the end of this webinar. I'm sure this is a topic that people could talk about for a long time, but a couple of questions I've had directly. The first is, and I might direct this back at you, Sigurlin, if that's okay. Like in your view, so how important is it to involve your employees and get the thoughts and the feelings and I guess the outcomes or how to solve the challenges that your people have when you think about the tech that you use or how you build a foundation for the company and for them to work from?
I would say it's more than important. It's a key factor for the success of any project, and especially when you're deploying a tool. So I think a risk when you're deploying a tool and maybe you're not an expert in tooling, which can happen in HR teams, you can get lost kind of in a technical complexity of deploying the tool. And so you kind of lose track or set aside the stakeholder management side because it feels less urgent, the impact is less visible. But really, in the end, if you have properly embarked your employees, it will make such a big difference on the adoption of the tool. My recommendation would be really to involve employees from the beginning. Uh, Build a community of ambassadors. I think that's one big change management recommendation that you can make, but involve them in the building, in the design phase of your tool, make sure that it's aligned with their needs. Have a workshop with them to present the tool, gather feedback, maybe ask them to work on some specific aspect of the tool to involve them. And because they have participated in the building of the tool, they will really be your best ambassador. So really, once the tool is live, don't forget about it. Keep your community alive, train them, hold regular meetings, make sure that they can relay feedback from the other teams, make sure that they are very identifiable in their scope so that other employees can reach out to them for questions. Make them the expert and ambassadors of your tool, and that will really make a big difference, I think.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with all of that, and I think one thing I would say is on HR or software get-togethers, events, webinars, we quite often can fall into the trap of just talking about everything that's great. So being slightly bold, and I'm going to direct this at you, Sean. I think it's also worth acknowledging when things don't go quite so well, and we've certainly had experience of buying tools that haven't gone particularly well. And even ourselves, we've had our own share of customers with challenges. I think any vendor that says that they haven't is probably not being completely transparent. So, in your view, both internally and when you work with customers where there's been dissatisfaction with a vendor, how do you think about gathering feedback from your people, from the end users, and from those impacted?
Yeah, I think it's really the important thing to really look at is in those situations, let's forget about the tool for a moment. Like, let's go right back to what are the challenges your team are going through on a day-to-day. And when you had signed up to purchase a tool, how was it going to be solving those pieces? As a question of, were the issues that we initially thought when we purchased that we thought we were going to be solved for, were they actually the right things we needed to focus on? Or now has it become apparent that we actually have a bigger problem with this? And that's actually where we need to focus with. And then that's an evaluation of, now that we know that, one, are we with the right solution right now to fit those needs? Maybe this is a bigger problem we have, and let's work to see if it's one, it is, and if it's not, that's absolutely fine. It's about like working and partnering to go, how do we make sure that we are going in the right direction and we are getting the right piece for ourselves right now? Because those other problems, they're not gone away. They're still there. They just might not be the top priority for ourselves right now, the challenge. And when we are ready to challenge them, we know there's a tool here that's ready to go. But the other part we're getting that feedback is, one, consolidating it into a central theme or central action piece. And if I was to say one amazing thing that I've learned from my time is using a tool like ChatGPT to kind of categorize everything, right? So if you can get all that feedback from your employees and be able to go pull the central themes here. What are the essential pieces that is current with that, and share that those are the themes of the challenges we're trying to solve for. And a true partner that you work with on a tools landscape isn't going to hear that and go, okay, that's great. Well, look, go to another solution. I'm going to go, all right, that's a challenge for yourself. How are we going in the direction to make sure that we're going to take this? And we should be listening to you and should go, let's grow with you. Let's develop with you. You're the one who has this piece. And I would say with my own team, those are the biggest success stories we've had. It's where we take the time to listen to that and go, okay, let's get you in front of product. Let's get you in front of a PM. Let's get you in front of this person and talk about this is the challenge we're encountering. And we learn from you, we'll grow with you and see how the tool can develop. The advantage you get by having that relationship partner, that means that while, yes, they want to put in a solution that fits the majority or all of their customers, you get the selfish part of being able to go, I've an influence in this and it's really going to take care of my exact needs with it as well. So a strong partnership with a supplier goes a long way.
Absolutely. Completely agree. And I think you know, that's one of the things that I think we should all be aiming for, whether it's HR working with our people or us as software vendors working with our customers. This, you know, relationships work and value is derived when we seek to build long-term relationships and problem solve. You know, there's not always going to be perfection, and there's going to be hurdles to overcome, as well as lots of successes and efficiencies to be gained. So I'm conscious we're a couple of minutes over. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Siglen. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We hope the conversation has been useful today, and that you've taken a couple of pieces of inspiration or useful thoughts away with you. All three of us are open to hearing from any of you if you have any follow-up questions. And thanks again for joining, and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye.